I am privileged tonight to introduce the minister of the Willow Avenue Church of Christ, Brother Jeremiah Tatum. He will give the invocation.
Will you bow with me, please? Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this beautiful spring day. Thank you for our health that allows us to be here. Thankful for the great country in which we live. We're thankful for the state of Tennessee and Putnam County that we can live here and serve here in this wonderful community of great people, people that love you, Lord. We're thankful for a safe running of the Boston Marathon today and all the participants and our freedom that we enjoy each and every day. Father, we pray now as we enter into the session that we'll please you in the things that we do. We ask that you'll guide each individual and their responsibilities and help them to be servants of the people. We pray that you help them to make good decisions and to work together to provide for us a better community in which to live each day. We ask, Lord, that you'll be with us, be with our families, help us to live like Christ in everything that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll take your handsets and everybody press yes for me, please. Everybody press yes. David not going to be with us tonight? All right. Now, everybody, please press confirm for me, please. Everybody press confirm. The sound I always look for. Mr. Chairman, you have 22 present. You have 2 absent. There is a quorum.
All right. Item 5, approval of the agenda.
Motion approved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of minutes of previous meeting.
Move approved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Unfinished business and action thereon by the board. Report of standing committees. Planning Committee.
No unfinished business.
Fiscal Review Committee.
No unfinished business.
Nominating Committee.
No unfinished business.
Report of special committees. First is the Pension Review Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask Jill Bacchus to come up, if she wouldn't mind. And I'm going to turn this over to our chairman of the committee, Mr. Bob Duncan. Mr. Duncan.
Thank you. For the commissioners who were not at Planning Committee last week, the Pension Review Committee is recommending for your consideration at the May meeting the hybrid plan, which is a combination through TCRS of a defined benefit plan and a defined contribution 401k plan. The committee further recommended that the defined contribution 401k plan also be administered by TCRS. If we approve this, then it would not affect new employees hired on or after January the 1st, 2015, because we have to give 6 months notice to TCRS, and it has to start at the beginning of a quarter. We ask Ms. Bacchus here to answer questions, because several people in physical review had questions last week, and we wanted to give everyone a full opportunity to ask questions. So, Jill?
Could I confirm that you are looking at the new state and teacher hybrid plan or the local government hybrid plan?
Local government hybrid plan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. I understand that there is a portability component in this, where employees can take their contribution should they leave service with the county, and they can take that portion of it with them. Is that correct? And could you elaborate on that just a little more, please?
Sure. Portability within the plan, just to be clear, once someone is in TCRS, it is portable with any employer. So, for example, if you have an employee who works for Putnam County for 10 years, later moves to Wilson County, that they will then have the full service in TCRS with that Wilson County employer and with Putnam County. So, under the legacy plan, it was 30 years of service was eligibility for retirement. So if they work 10 years in Putnam County, 20 years in Wilson County, for eligibility purposes, they have 30 years of service and eligible for retirement. Putnam County would only be paying for that service earned in Putnam County. Under the new hybrid plan, it's very similar. It's still a portable plan. It's crossing all employers in Tennessee, all TCRS employers in Tennessee, and that service would count toward eligibility for retirement.
I guess what I was more referring to was...
I think he's talking about the portability portion of the 401k.
As far as...
If they were to leave county service and go into private business
Oh,
or
terminate,
something else.
if they were to terminate.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Under the plan, they can leave the funds with the 401k, and it's actually Treasury Department State of Tennessee program, not necessarily a TCRS program. Great West Retirement Services is currently the third-party administrator for our defined contribution plan, and yes, they would take those funds with them, or they could leave them. We have low fees. It's really their choice.
Commissioner Medley.
Well, on this new plan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you have 30 years of service, you can't retire. Is that not correct?
Correct. It's now the rule of 90, which is age 65 or the combination of 30 years plus your age. So they'd have to be age 60 and have 30 years of service in order to retire.
So my question is, you're talking about your employees. The younger you are, the higher your retirement age is. That's like if you, a young employee like they're talking about hiring, his retirement age is probably somewhere up, or his real retirement age somewhere up around close to 70. So my real question is, if this person's got 30 years and he reaches 60-year-old, which that will not be his real retirement age, can he still retire at 60 years old?
He can retire because if he has 30 years with Putnam County and he's age 60, he's eligible for retirement. That doesn't mean he needs to retire. It comes down to the circumstances of that employee. Do they have other retirement assets? Can they afford to retire? It's part of the financial literacy, understanding are they eligible for retirement. But they would be eligible, but not necessarily have to retire.
But they couldn't retire before age 60.
If they started at age 18 and had 32 years of service, is my math right? Yep. They could retire at 58. Right now, it's just under the legacy plan, it's very similar. If they started at age 18, they could retire at 48.
They can retire whenever they have 30 years in on the plan
Correct.
we have now.
Correct. That's correct. And as you mentioned, people are living longer. So it's not necessarily that should they retire at that age. They're eligible, but should they is another question.
That's true. That's why they raised the retirement age.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that the committee considered is the county's contribution under the hybrid plan is capped at a maximum of 9%. we will not see significant, if any, savings in the first few years. But this is a long-term decision. This will affect the county going down the road. The state already has, leveling and stuff like that, so we're not as tied as we once were to the investment earnings. But there's one of the plus sides is that the employee could retire with more if he took the maximum, he or she took the maximum advantage of the 401k portion and invested it in other than probably a bank CD. They have the potential to make more than that they might get under the defined benefit plan. If they were just under the defined benefit, you know, all the risk is on the county at that point in time. This is more, the committee looked at this as more of a shared risk between the county and the employee. The county's still liable for the defined benefit portion, and the employee has some options under the Great West plan that with reasonable investment should yield more over the longer term.
If I could make a clarification, to make sure we're looking at the right plan, what I call the new state and teacher hybrid plan, which goes into effect July 1, there is a limit to the employer contribution of 9%.
Right.
There's also a local government hybrid plan that can really be set all over the place, but it doesn't have some of the cost controls and liabilities in place.
Okay.
So I guess I want to make sure we're all talking about the same plan. State and teacher hybrid plan?
No, local government hybrid
So
plan.
you're going to try and develop it similar to the state and teacher and limit your... Now, I will tell you that you will go out for, on the defined benefit portion, we will do an actuarial valuation on you each year, like we're doing now, based on the value, the demographics of your employees. So it could, probably not because it's a small formula, but it could go higher than 9%, I guess is what I'm trying to say, the DB portion of it. But it's unlikely based on the value, because it's a 1% formula, which is considerably smaller, and then the rest would go in the defined contribution plan. Okay. I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page.
Well, Mr. Duncan was talking about, well, you could end up with more, but you could end up with a lot less if you make the higher risk investments with it, to where the way it's set up now, they're basically safe investments. So you're basically playing cards. There ain't much difference.
Well, you are sharing the risk, as was mentioned. Right now, the entire risk is on the employer because they're taking the full investment risk. Now what you're doing is letting the employee. On the other hand, a young employee that you were mentioning, they have a long time in which to let their funds accumulate, to build those investments, and they could come out considerably ahead. An older employee, if you were to hire an older employee, they would not have much time to let their funds grow in that defined contribution account. And you're right, it all depends on their investment. They could go into a fixed CD bond fund, not earn anything. Fixed right now is not earning a lot of money, as I'm sure all of you know. That would not be a good investment decision because their money will not be available. So they need to have some risk in their investments in order to grow their assets.
There are also fiduciary standards that the plan has to meet. And that means you don't have any really wild investments. You know, there's not one for the lotto or the lottery is not one of the options in the fund. So the funds that Great West offers are all reasonable investments. They're not going to go out, and the state treasurer is not, as one of the fiduciaries, is not going to go way out on a limb and get something that he could get sued over for offering
And you're exactly right. We actually have, a group of us, I don't know if you'd call, I guess we'd be a board, on the defined contribution plan, that we do quarterly reviews of the investments within the Great West lineup. We're the ones who actually put them in. They do analysis looking at Morningstar, some other consultants, to determine are these still viable funds. If they are not viable funds, if they're not meeting their benchmarks, if they appear to be in trouble, we take them out and put another investment in. Now, I will say it goes the entire investment horizon. You have your risky funds, all stocks, and you have your basic bond cash account through a bank. So the employee would be wanting to diversify across that entire investment lineup.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. Portability. The employee's portion is portable only? If you leave and don't go to another group that has TCRS or the 401K, correct?
The employee's portion is always, as you say, portable, taken out. The money deposited into the defined contribution plan by the employer also becomes the employee's money. You have
401K?
the 401K. The money set into that's contributed by the employer into the defined benefit plan stays in the employer's account. It does not go with the employee.
The 401K, if I think I heard you correctly, 9% is not going to be the max. If we're looking at a local government plan, what is the max for the employee to contribute?
Under the local government plan, you set what you want your parameters to be. You set, we will tell you what the employer contribution rate is based on the actuarial study, and you can't even put more in aside that. New GASB standards will now allow you to pay ahead if you have a lower value and want to go in. On the defined contribution side, you set how much you want to put in the defined contribution on behalf of the employee. And then the employee also can do that. On the state and teacher plan that I referred to earlier, there is a requirement. The employer puts 5% into the defined contribution plan. But on this plan, it's up to the local government.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williamson.
Thank you. When you're talking about the ability to retire, you're talking about a full benefit, correct?
Yes.
I mean, and that's, what is the percentage reduction for your years, or service years or age short of the 90 formula? Is it 5% a year, 10% a year?
I don't,
I mean, you can retire, if you have 25 years of service and want to retire at 55, I'm assuming that you're fully vested by that point, but you're going to have a reduction
right.
in your payout for every year that you don't meet the 90 formula.
I can tell you what it is under the current plan. We're slightly changing it. Under the current legacy plan, it's 0.4% per month that you're short of full eligibility. So if you retire at age 55, you will be reduced 24% from the maximum. Under the new hybrid plan and that we're going forward, we are going to start doing a true actuarial reduction. The actuary is going to tell us what that value is going down.
Okay. And forgive my lack of familiarity with what you all have done, but you have different options, like an option where somebody does not have a spouse or whatever, and they're receiving X as a payout, and if they have do you have a different option for somebody who wants to provide for their spouse? Could you explain what?
Be happy to. Those payment options will still be available in the hybrid plan. What it is you have the maximum plan for the employee. If the employee wants to take as much out of the retirement system during their lifetime, that's what we call the maximum. Everything ceases at their death.
Right.
In addition, for a beneficiary, and it doesn't have to be spouse, if they're eligible for retirement, they can choose whoever they want. What we will do is look at the age of the member and the age of the beneficiary and determine a factor of what the payout will be. It'll be a lesser value to the member during their lifetime if they choose 100%, or they could choose a 50% payout to their beneficiary. And depending on what they choose will be the value that they get during their lifetime and then for ongoing for the beneficiary's lifetime.
Okay, what about, is there a disability somebody is, determined to be totally and permanently disabled?
That's correct, and that will continue in this plan as well. Under the same provisions, they have to provide medical information to our third-party medical panel to determine they're totally and permanently disabled. The calculation of the disability, if it's someone who is under the hybrid plan, will be based on the 1% formula,
Okay.
as opposed to the current 1.575% formula, and that comes out to about 90% of the maximum value, and based on the years of service that they have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, there was another question too. How many counties are currently in this hybrid plan, do you know?
A handful. We have, I think actually, as far, not necessarily counties,
Or governmental entities, yeah?
I want to say that there's less than 5. I have a couple of them already looking at the July 1 date to pick up a couple, but we've had some interest, but there's less than 5.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Bowman? Okay. Commissioner Martin? Yes, sir.
You just answered one of my questions, but the others, how long have you offered the local government hybrid plan? How long have you been handling it?
July 1, 2012.
Okay.
Commissioner Randolph?
Number of years to be vested, is that the same?
It is 5 years. You have the option of going to 10 years, but that was changed in law this current year, but to be honest, there wasn't enough difference to make a change. We didn't even consider it for the new state and teacher hybrid plan because it didn't make that much difference in the employer rate.
So if they're vested after 5 years, so the 55 is out then, as far as that goes, is that what you're saying? You can't retire at 55 because you have 10 or 15 years vested, you're not eligible to retire at that time? Do you have to wait till you're 62 or 65? I mean, because you're not going to get your rule of 90 at that point.
65 is the outset. 65 is similar to the age 60 now. With any number of years of service, as long as you're vested, it would be at age 65. And your benefit would be based on the number of years that you have. And as you know, just as a reminder, all additional service adds to that benefit. It doesn't harm anyone to continue to work.
Anything else? Ms. Bacchus, we thank you for your
You're
time
welcome.
and appreciate you coming up here. Personnel Committee.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we distributed this evening the revisions, the recommended revisions to the personnel policies. This is not on the agenda, but you provided this packet so you could have a lot of time to take a look at it. We will be doing a full presentation at the next commission meeting to go over the recommended changes, et cetera. So, happy reading. This isn't going to make Book of the Month Club, but it's a book, thank you. But anyway, I just would like to thank the committee members, Commissioner Neal, Ebersol, Duncan, Randolph, and the person that provided us really incredible support and assistance in this was our County Attorney, Jeff Jones. So thanks to all of you. Appreciate it very much, and we'll talk about it next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Sports Council.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to update you on the Sports Council. We had a meeting April 15th. As most of you know, April 11th through the 13th was a very busy weekend here in Cookeville, or in Putnam County. I know the BPA Classic, a baseball tournament was here. Rich Fronning had the Mayhem for Mustard Seed Ranch, and also the Rotary Soccer Classic was here. I think there was an AAU tournament here that weekend. I understand that some soccer teams didn't attend because there were no more hotel rooms, so evidently the hotel rooms were full. If you were in a restaurant that weekend, it was pretty packed. Most of those events were not put on by the Sports Council, but they were aided. They gave them duffel bags with things in them and stuff like that. Was aided by that. Also, the Sports Council is doing an event. If you've seen it, coming up May 1st. If you've seen the advertisements on it, it is a recognition to honor local champions who have excelled in athletics here. in Putnam County. Is there, it could be collegiate, could be high school. I know the keynote speakers are going to be Mack and Watson Brown. They're selling tickets for that. You can buy single tickets, you can buy tickets, or you can buy a table. Just wanted to make you aware of that. Be a great event to go to. But they are working. I know that Stacy Hilliard with the chamber, she had been to a National Sports Council meeting in Oklahoma City, where you try to make visits with people that put on events. And I know a lot of areas our size had 3 appointments. I think she had 15. So people are beginning to see this area as an area to come in and have events, whether it's hog rally, where it's a sporting event. So they're working hard and still trying to draw events here, and hometown Night of Champions is going to be a big thing. You know, if you're wanting tickets, I would call the chamber and inquire about tickets. It'll be a fun night. That's all I've got.
Any other unfinished business? Okay. New business is action thereon by the board. Report of standing committees, Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item A, Planning Committee recommends approval for Glenn Jones to get some estimates on the costs associated with the modifications and improvements to the fairgrounds in order to provide additional parking.
Mr. Chairman, the agenda just calls to give him approval. It doesn't call for a presentation.
Well,
The agenda calls
it does call for approval,
approval. It doesn't call for a presentation.
but I guess from our last meeting, was it not that he was supposed to bring back, what the request from planning was to bring back estimates if he could get them?
This is just now authorizing him to get estimates, so I think. Well,
I guess we need a motion and a second on that. Is that what you're asking for?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have
Take- it takes 2/3 to change the agenda at this point in time.
I guess, Commissioner Duncan, I'm asking clarification from you and
Well, I wasn't at the planning committee meeting, so, it just says that recommends him to get estimates. We haven't even authorized that. So why are we receiving a report if we haven't even authorized it yet?
that I understand.
That's not what the agenda says.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the item in front of you. As it reads, recommends approval for Glenn Jones to get some estimates on the costs associated with modifications and improvements to the fairgrounds in order to provide additional parking. Is there any discussion on that motion? Commissioner Madden.
My first question, Mr. Jones, is, this doesn't really tell me exactly what you're planning on doing, so hop right up there and, let's discuss on what you're wanting to do. I don't need a presentation. I've got certain questions, Kim. You can sit down too.
Well, let's all maintain respect for each office held here, please.
No. No, it's discussion.
We're at the discussion of the motion, and he asked a question pertaining to this motion. Did he not? If I'm, then I'm, okay, all right.
My question is, Mr. Jones, what are you planning on doing? Because this says parking, and I just want you to clarify what your actually intentions is.
Last week, I came up before the planning commission with a map and showing that across the road at Hawk's property, is sold. Nobody's gonna be allowed to park there. Kathy Reel contacted the owner.
That's not my question. My question is, what are you planning on doing?
Okay. If you look at your map on, that I would put at everybody's desk and turn north up, at the very top, to be easier, I know that you guys turn this way right here, you'll see the 2 horse barns, and last year 3 people used the horse barn during the fair, and apparently they're not using it any other time. The one
on this side is
Glenn.
in bad condition.
Glenn, right here. Get close to the mic, we're recording, okay, please?
Okay,
Thank you.
the one on this side is in really bad condition. The one on the right side is a pretty good one. It's got a hallway down the middle. Okay, what's happening when people, they call it Gate B. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the letters and all that. Gate B is the entrance near the horse barn. Okay, when people come in there, everybody today's got, you know, trailers and bigger trucks. It's not like years ago when they built this with the, so there's not enough parking. And when you go over in that area during the fair when it's crowded, the trucks and everything are turned sideways. They're not lined up because there's no way to get in there. And automobiles can't even park in this area over here.
Mr. Jones, what are you planning on doing with my barns? Let's get right to the point.
Well, I love the one with the one that's got the hallway down the middle. The fair board decided to remove the horse barns for additional parking.
So you're wanting to tear down barns that probably cost $200,000 a piece to build?
I checked with Thrasher House Movers, and $9,000 to pick up the good one and set it over away from that area where it could be used for something else, and then he estimated $10,000 to concrete the floor and then set it on top
So
of it.
where are you planning on setting this barn at?
Well, at that time, I don't really make a decision like that. You know, it would be up to the county commission if...
Well, I can't see using taxpayers' money to move two barns is fine where they're at. That one you're saying is so bad, I went and looked at it, it didn't look that bad. You could actually take those barns where they're sitting at, you could concrete the floors in them, and you could use those barns there for people to sell things out of or whatever.
If you were doing a flea market, but during the fair, and I know you've been to the fair a lot because I've seen you there, there's people parking in between here, trailers going back and forth. You can't let children over there. It would be dangerous to even, we were going to put the petting, not me, but the fair board was talking about putting the petting zoo in it. But it's dangerous to have the petting zoo over there between people driving back and forth. You can't just turn your children loose. So they're parking in there anyway. It's a parking lot.
Well, that's what it actually is a parking lot.
But you can't park the cars as many as you could get in there if they were gone and the fence was gone.
Those two barns are the space that they actually occupy, Glenn, is not very much space if you measure them. If you measure those two barns, you're not talking about very much room. So there's no way I could possibly go along with that.
150 feet long, each one of them.
To use taxpayers' money to tear down two barns and then to move one of them, you know, that doesn't make any logic to me.
I know this ain't a presentation, but I don't know how to answer that completely without going into the whole detail of how much parking you're going to get. Is it all right if I proceed on that?
You're gonna get the exact amount that those two barns occupy is what you're gonna get.
No, it's more than that. If you go over there, you can't drive an automobile from this gate to this area right here. There's a bank there. But if the
Chair,
barn...
can I make a point of order here? I mean, in all due respect, and excuse me for interrupting, I don't mean to do that, but there's a point of order here. The motion that we have is to allow him to get bids. He's not here to explain those bids. What we ask him to do is go get options and come back with the options. So now we're quizzing him on what those options are and what his investigation of that is. This is all just allowing him to go do that. I mean, I have to agree with Commissioner Duncan in that the motion before us has nothing to do at this point with making a decision, Commissioner Medley, in all due respect, of whether we're going to accept his motion or not, or his recommendation. We're not even supposed to be hearing him tonight. We're just giving him permission to go price that out. That means he's going to come back, Commissioner Medley, probably with 2 or 3 options. May not be with those barns. So that's my point of order. I think we're looking at the wrong thing here. We're trying to consider, Mr. Parliamentarian, if I'm not correct, just allow him to get the bids.
Mr. Atwood, this does not state in here anywhere what he's actually going to do.
That's what he's supposed to bring back. We're giving him permission to go determine that. We don't...
Determine what? That's my question to you. What is he actually, this paper reads, it does not specifically tell you what he is going to do.
He will discuss that, and he will present that when he comes back after he's done it.
So you're giving him permission to do something?
I'm just asking, that's what this motion is. I mean, we haven't voted on it yet, but that's what this motion is doing if I'm not correct, if I'm correct, and I think I am. Mr. Manning?
Questions need to stick to the motion, which is the approval.
Any other questions, Mr. Manley? Commissioner Bryant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said in planning last Monday night, planning asked Mr. Jones, who was asked by Ms. Blaylock and the fair manager or fairgrounds committee to come and do a presentation about on how to fix up, how that the fair board is recommending the changes. Now, recommends approval, that may be an error or an oversight. But he was supposed to come back tonight with a presentation to show what they wanted to make changes on the fairgrounds, and then this commission, this body, needs to either give him the permission to continue or to stop. And that was the intent of planning. It wasn't to approve, it was to give him the floor to do the presentation.
Mr. Maynard, as parliamentarian, how do we go about, because apparently we have an issue here with the way the motion
If we want to hear a
reads.
presentation, we need somebody to make a motion to suspend the rules so that we can hear a presentation. That requires a 2/3 to suspend the rules to hear a presentation. Otherwise, we just vote on the approval and he'll have to come back next month.
I'd like to make that motion to suspend the rules and vote as was just stated.
All right, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any discussion on that motion or vote?
Doesn't appear to be.
Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, all right. Now, let's take a roll call vote, just to make it easy.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me clear the board.
Please restate the motion.
I got suspend the rules.
We're voting to suspend the rules in order to hear the presentation tonight.
That was asked by planning.
Okay. So we're voting to suspend the rules to hear the presentation by Mr. Jones to be presented, to be presented, was agreed by the planning committee. Is that correct? Everybody understand? All right. If you take your handsets, if you favor that motion, vote yes to suspend the rules. That's all we're doing on. If you do not favor that motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Then just stop right there for me, please. All right. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, ladies and gentlemen, would you please press confirm for me, please? Everybody press confirm. Short. Excellent. Now, Mr. Chairman, we have 16 voting yes, 6 no, 2 absent. Motion carries. Have 2/3.
Mr. Jones, would you make your presentation, please?
It's kind of hard to see. We're going to do one on the screen, but this is pretty easier actually to point to if you have any questions. This is a map of the fairgrounds. Would you be able to see it right in front of the audience? I can turn it this way. Can you see it at all? I know y'all know what it is. Can you see it at all? We have a map. Since there's no parking available down here anymore, we're thinking 1/3. I went to all the fair board meetings. They discussed this. I don't like the idea of tearing down the horse barns either, but they're not being used. And what's happening, when people drive in gate
Glenn, if you will, you're gonna have to back up and speak to the microphone.
see
Jerry,
what
Jerry can't hear
Y'all
you.
can look at the map, I can.
Take it off
Oh.
the stand.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Squeeze the deal there. Now, squeeze it. There you go.
Hey, thank you.
There you go, buddy. We're gonna teach you how to use a microphone. There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Hey,
You're
I
welcome.
can't sing like you, Wayne.
Thank you. I heard you sing, I know. Okay, just kidding. Okay.
All right, so what it is, I know everybody can't see it, but there's a gate right here, Gate B. When people come in here, they're parking sideways. If we took the fence down from this location all the way around that road, all the way till you get to right down there, I don't know if everybody can see that, all the way to, you see a fence right over here. There's a fence right over here. If you take that fence completely down all the way around there, and you run the new fence along the back of the grandstand, all the way to this fence that's in an angle. There's a bunch of, I took Commissioner Ludwig over there, and he couldn't believe all the cross fences on this property. There's a cross fence in this angle right here. If you took a fence and connected it to this fence, and then the one that goes up this way, connect it to this one, and go back down, there's a good one right here, and there's a gate where you come in. If you did that change right there, this whole entire area would be parking. And right now it's not parking. You cannot pull your car in here and drive it over here. The horse trailers block it all right in here. There's an ambulance will sit here, a couple things, and this whole area is just vacant during the fair. This area right in here is vacant also. There's nothing there. This is the dry land all the way across the top. Your car won't sink in the mud here. This whole area down here is nothing but mud behind the hog barn. Used to, you could park there. You can't park there no more. Veterans Drives block the water, and it's just damming up. And it's this whole area that you can see on your map, and you can tell it even on the small map. It's real dark. That's wet right in there. So what we're wanting to do is open this whole area for parking. And then there's a fence that goes around this way, and it goes out here. There's a gate here and a gate there that's not even used. This fence doesn't go anywhere. It stops right there. So this whole entire fence is a waste. If it was gone, cars could come right off the road and park anywhere around there. I mean, it almost needs a field trip. I mean, this is 34 acres we're talking about. From this area to here, from there, it's a long way. What do you think? It's kind of hard to, and that's just one of the improvements that could really, add to the parking. But that's what we're talking about. And you asked me about the electricity, the lighting. I checked with Dennis McBroom, the maintenance director. He said there's plenty of lighting. We met over there. There's lights all over. I asked him why it was dark. Why was the fair board not happy with how dark it was behind the south grandstand and the north? He said they didn't turn the lights on. So I have no idea. I'm just a liaison. Yeah, so I don't know whose job it was to turn the lights on, but I know that the volleyball area where the stage 2 was completely dark. I mean, it was dark. And over on the south side, where the chicken house was, it was completely dark over there. I was there every night from 10 o'clock in the morning till at least 11 or 12 every day. I was on the south side, so I saw it firsthand. It was dark, but he assured me that they weren't turned on. So I don't see that we'd need to spend for the lighting. What was the other question? It was horse barns, parking.
Planning asked him to do was get an estimate on the fence and the electrical and decide, about the barns, which if you decide to take the barns down, somebody will probably take those down just for the materials in them. So that's not gonna be a cost. And to do this fence, if you'll look at your little maps, the north grandstand run fence from here to the existing fence, and from here down to about right here, there's like a cross fence. And take it from here over here and go on down, take this existing fence down, fill this in with rock. He had Randy Jones come over, look fill this ditch up with rock and put a culvert in right here, and all that, to take, and that way you could get a whole row of cars all the way down through here. But what he was asked to do was to get the estimates, and it's got the fence part of it, which I don't think we should go less than 9-gauge wire. The low estimate on the fencing was, well, this is the wrong thing.
Or hold this.
Yeah,
Mike
this is
stand.
the wrong folder.
Other than the pricing, is that the end of the presentation?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what he was asked to do,
Okay. Commissioner
is to
Williams?
get estimates on what it would take to do those things. The lighting, yeah, he got two, but the cheapest one to run this fence, like, all the way to here, and that's the gates included, down to here, go down, the fence part, it was $13,500. Randy said probably $6,000 or less for all the rock and the culvert and work that would have to be done to fill that ditch in. And probably, you know, we need to go out over to the fairground after dark and see what lights are working, what doesn't. There may be some needs to just be upgraded, but you're not talking about, you know, less than $20,000 to do all of it.
And if everybody's been over there, this entire fence has holes cut all in it. You can just walk through it, climb under it, whatever you want to do. It's rusty, it's been up there since, Commissioner Shank said, what, 1977, something maybe like that, or?
I don't go along with none of this stuff. I've waited over there for 40 years, and how in the world did the horse barns, horse trailers be there? They're not there every night. The horse trailers be there maybe 1 or 2 nights the whole 10 days.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on there that don't work, and you want to put a fence on that road and stop it, and I ain't.
No, the fence isn't on the road.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This could have applied a few minutes ago. I think we're doing this entire thing completely out of order, and I tried to make this point a little bit during planning, but I was presiding over the meeting, so I didn't make any motions or anything. I understand Mr. Jones is probably going to be submitted next month before the planning committee and the commission to be the fairgrounds manager. It is my understanding that he's been selected by the committee, and his name will be forwarded. But I believe that we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here with the dollars we're throwing around here. This could very well wind up being a budget item for this upcoming year's budget. And Mr. Jones and I have spoken a few times about this, and I think his points are valid, and maybe some of the things that need to be done are valid. But of course, there's always the 800-pound gorilla in the room. What is the future of the fairgrounds, and how much money do we want to spend on it in its current location? And that's a matter for this commission to decide. But I guess I'm going to make a motion that we suspend any further action on this item until Mr. Jones is appointed by the commission, his name is submitted through the proper channels, appointed by the commission into some official capacity, so that we can come forward and do this again. As it stands right now, his status is that of an interested party. There are probably interested parties all over this county. I mean, Mr. Eddie Ferris out there is going to be the sheriff on September the 1st, but until then, David Andrews is the sheriff. So I think we need to go ahead and let us go through the process next month of considering the appointment, and then once he has that position, we can move forward and see if this doesn't turn into a budget item for this upcoming year's budget. So my motion is to suspend any further action until Mr. Jones has some official position in this, or anyone else.
So it's a motion to defer.
Motion to defer until an appointment is made.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion to defer until a decision's been made on the fairground manager?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does this mean this floor will be open for anyone that would like to apply for that position?
It is my understanding that a name was to be submitted to us by, I can't remember the name of the committee, but there was a committee that, no, it wasn't nominating, it was something outside the commission that we appointed a long time ago. There's a whole bunch of names on it, and they were supposed to submit a name, and it is my understanding that they're planning to submit Mr. Jones next month. I don't know, I just don't know if it's open for nominations from this body or not.
I'm sure it would be.
Almost have to be. Any other
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I'm not sure who's supposed to, who should answer this, but the current fair board, what has been the discussion, pro or con, on this project?
That's the reason we're here. The fair board is concerned about the parking. They're the ones who voted on this, saying they think this is something that needs to be done. That's why you're hearing it right now. They're concerned about the parking. I told them I don't have authority to be making decisions like that. That's why it's in front of you. It doesn't have anything to do with who is the fairground manager or if there is a fairground manager. This is recommendations that the fair board voted on, that they'd like to see happen at the fairground, which this body is gonna be the one that has to make that decision, one way or the other. And, you know, it needs to be decided sooner than later, because the fair will be upon us, and the parking that was across the road will not be there anymore, because somebody's purchased that land. So that's the reason you're listening to it right now. And these were recommendations from the fair board about what they would like to see done with the property.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this, substitute motion? Commissioner Short?
I have a discussion, but it's not about the motion.
Okay. Commissioner Brown? Not on this one, okay. I guess Commissioner Eversole, you have on the previous, not the current motion. All right, okay. Then we'll vote on the, I'm sorry. We will vote on this current motion. Is that better? Okay, sorry. Sorry for not speaking into the microphone enough. We'll vote on the current motion, which is to defer decision until a fairgrounds manager has been chosen, which should be on the agenda next month. All right, we'll just take a roll call vote. Okay, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes.
Item B, Planning Committee recommends approval to transfer the following vehicles from the Putnam County Ambulance Service to the City of Monterey. There's a 2005 Ford F-450 and a 2008 Ford F-450, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Fiscal review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A, Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval for the county executive to apply for and administer the litter grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation, and I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
We'll have to do a roll call. I apologize.
All right. You take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, would you please press confirm for me, ladies and gentlemen? Everybody press confirm. Mr. Chairman, you have 22 voting yes, 0 no, 2 absent. That motion carries. Hang on, Scott.
All right. Item B, Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of budget amendments to the General Purpose School Fund, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, hearing
All
none.
right, seeing
we'll
none,
vote.
if you take your handsets, if you favor the motion, vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, ladies and gentlemen, would you please press confirm for me, please? Everybody press confirm. Mr. Chairman, you have 22 voting yes, 0 no, 2 absent. Motion carries.
And that concludes fiscal review.
Nominating committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nominating on item A, recommends approval to appoint Dr. Sullivan Smith as medical examiner for a 2-year term to expire April 2016. I so move.
Second.
We have motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item B, consider the following to serve the Tax Equalization Board for a 2-year term to expire April 2016. Also remember, we consider one representative from each region. North is Randy Carlisle and Gary Bush. South, Judah Gibson and Perry Nash. East, Ronnie Franz and Charles Looper. And the West is Arlene Bush.
Okay, we will,
Mr. Chair, if I may, one question. Have all these people been notified and are they willing to serve?
Yes, most of them, some of them are returning from last term, but some of the others have contacted their commissioner and asked to have their name nominated. Yes.
okay. We'll turn this over to Wayne. You'll pick one from each region.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I call your name, will you vote for the one from each region that you wish, please? And if you will flow in the line that's on the agenda, that will help me because that's the way I have them across here too, please, okay? So as I call your name, will you give me your selection, one selection for the north, south, east, and the west, all right? Everybody ready? Mr. Ebersole?
North, Gary Bush. South, Julie Gibson. East, Ronnie Franz. And West, Arlene Bush.
Thank you, sir. Tom Short?
Carlisle, Gibson, France, and Bush.
Thank you. Mr. Duncan?
Carlisle, Nash, Looper, Bush.
Jim Martin?
Carlisle, Nash, Looper, and Bush.
Mr. Ford?
Bush, Nash, Franz, and Bush.
All right. Mr. Ludwig?
Carlisle, Gibson, Looper, Bush.
Mr. Williamson?
Carlisle, Nash, Looper, Bush.
Ms. Burrows?
Bush, Gibson, Looper, and Bush.
Mr. Randolph?
Bush, Nash, Looper, Bush.
Mr. Shanks?
Bush, Nash, Looper, and Arlene Bush.
All right. Mr. Savage?
Bush, Gibson, Franz, Bush.
Mr. Medley?
Bush, Nash, Franz, and Bush.
Mr. Troball?
Bush, Nash, Franz, Bush.
Ms. Bryant?
Bush, Nash, Looper, and Bush.
Ms. Neal?
Bush, Gibson, France, and Bush.
Mr. Blair?
Bush, Nash, France, and Arlene Bush.
Mr. Williams?
Carlisle, Nash, Looper, and Arlene Bush.
Mr. Maynard?
Bush, Gibson, Looper, and Bush.
Ms. Bradford?
Bush, Gibson, Looper, and Bush.
Mr. Pierce,
Bush, Nash, Looper, Bush.
Ms. Bowman,
Bush, Nash, Franz, and Bush.
Mr. Atwood,
Carlisle, Nash, Looper, Bush.
anybody wish to change their vote anywhere? If my calculations are correct, for the north, Carlisle receives 7, Bush receives 15, therefore Bush is elected from the north. In the south, Gibson receives 8, Nash receives 14, therefore Nash is elected from the south. In the east, France receives 8, Looper receives 14, therefore Mr. Looper is elected from the east, and the only sole one there with Ms. Bush received all 22. All right.
All right. Item C, consider interim appointment of assessor of property from the following list: Ellen Thurman, Barbara Bandy, Tom Thompson, Larry O'Rear, Whitney Mapes, Tom Romine, Joe Hicks. Tom Thompson, Tom Romine, R-O-M-I-N-E, I think. You
You should have
should
a
have
letter
an
from
email.
him in the packet, as well as one from Joe Hicks this morning. They were given to me last Tuesday, so we passed them on.
Here in your stuff here.
Are there any other nominations from the commissioners?
All right.
I'll accept a motion to cease nominations.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to cease nominations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. If we could, we'll allow 2 minutes per individual interested in this interim position, if they would make their way to the podium, and you'll be allowed 2 minutes to speak. If you so choose, you do not have to if you do not want to. But at this time, we'd like to give you an opportunity, because I know several of the commissioners, although they know most of you guys and they've read your letters, they would like to hear from you this evening. I've had a couple of them make sure that we allowed you time to speak. So in no specific, we can go in the order that they were given to us. If Ellen Thurman, Barbara Bandy, Tom Thompson, Larry O'Rear, Whitney Mapes, Joe Hicks, Tom Romine, if you guys will make your way if you'd like to speak. If you don't, that's fine, but I don't see anyone moving, so I'll okay. All right. If you would, just for everything, state your name.
Yes, I am Ellen Thurman, and I did send all of you letters. I hope that you did receive those. Just to kind of reiterate what those say, I don't want to go through all of it. I've lived in Putnam County about 20 years. I'm a graduate with a master's degree from Tech in business with an emphasis in strategic leadership. And I have worked at the Property Assessor's Office since 2007 in the capacity of the Field Operations Manager. That's what I was hired in to do, and still have that capacity today. I think I have a few goals that I would like to see happen if appointed as interim. One of them being, I think that it needs to be pretty transparent right now as far as the public is concerned and the county commission as far as what expenses, come through the office, and how the office is operating. That would be open always to anyone that wants to review that. Another thing that's always been, kind of an issue with the property assessor's office is staying in compliance as far as state compliance. One of the biggest things is prorating new construction, which I worked with the state the last couple of weeks, and one of the things that we did to ensure that we would be in compliance as far as that goes this year is I went through and just generated a report of all of the new construction that was put on by the field staff, and anything that was dated as a 2014 year build, I have went back and prorated all of those, which was one of the things that the state was finding us to be non-compliant in. So that has been done, and my understanding from them is that we will be in compliance this year.
Thank you. Does any commissioners have any questions directly for Ms. Thurman? Commissioner Medley?
Do you have any plans of running for this position?
No, I do not have any plans in running for the elected position.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bandy, would you like to speak?
I'm Barbara Bandy, and I have been lived in Putnam County for the last 20 years. I've been with the assessor's office for a total of 18 years. I have done just about everything that's been in the office to do. I've been with worked with the back assessments, taking care of all of that during the previous administrations. I've done I've kind of had some miscellaneous titles throughout all of done. I previously have been working all the career, and most of it in the field operations, with the last of it working with the commercial appraiser, doing listing and measuring of the commercial. I do a lot of the data entry, listing new commercial, residentials, reviews, the splits, stuff like that comes in through the deeds and all that. I'm familiar with deeds, the map, kind of familiar with the mapping stuff, but I've been through all of it, a little bit of the personal property stuff. I hope that we can get some credibility back into our office and do all we can to work together as an office to do that. So.
Any questions? Mr. Trowoff?
No, sir, I don't. I just enjoy the office and enjoy working there.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson? He's not here? Okay. Mr. O'Rear? Thank you. Ms. Mapes?
Good evening. My name is Whitney Mapes. I sent you all an email. I think some of you got sent back to me that was undeliverable. I apologize for that. I have been with the assessor's office since December of 2006. My title so far has been document specialist, you might say, or basically anything that ends up on my desk I do. I do not work in the field. I work basically in the office. I do the front end when needed. I have helped with personal property. I take care of the deeds and greenbelts, mobile homes, mobile home reports, mobile home parks. So anything basically in that area, that is my job. I have helped with the mapping. I have went out in the field a couple of times. I probably could do it if I learned it. but that is Ms. Thurman's specialty, and that's Ms. Bandy's specialty, they have well spoken. What I wish to bring to the office is basically harmony. I want the public to earn their trust back into our office. We've been on the news enough. Other than that, we work well as a team. We have ran that office basically, us as a group, and we've done so very well, even with everything that has went on in the controversy. I think we work well together, and I think we do it as a great team, and that's what I want to continue until someone is elected.
All right. Commissioner Trobach?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Hicks? Any different question for Mr. Hicks? Thank you, sir. Mr. Romine?
My name is Tom Romine. I'm the mapper currently in the assessor's office. I've put my name in basically to keep continuity running in the office. Everybody that works there currently has the knowledge base, and we have all been doing the jobs that we've been asked to do. I just want to see that continue until somebody can be elected to take over.
Commissioner Williams first, then Commissioner Bryant.
Two questions. One, do you plan to run for the office?
No, sir.
Two, do you reside within Putnam County?
Currently, I do not, but if I was to be considered for the appointment, I would be willing to temporarily move my residence.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bryant?
You have a question?
Okay. All right. Yep.
Mr. Jones, since he does not reside in Putnam County, does that make him ineligible for the appointment this evening? Okay.
Okay. Did everybody understand that?
No.
Not really.
It's real hard to hear.
Okay.
You have to be a resident of Putnam County to serve as assessor.
Okay, so because it's my understanding, if this job's chosen tonight, they start in the morning, correct?
They're gonna be sworn in.
They'll be sworn in after the meeting. Okay, so, in that effect, Mr. Romine, they leave the assessor.
They
so
leave here being assessor.
Unfortunately, Mr. Romine's ineligible, so please, district, strike his name from the list. Mr. Williams?
If I could, it's maybe slightly out of the order we're doing things, but if I could just ask Mr. Hicks and Mr. O'Rear to briefly tell the commission, what is your relevant experience to this? I know that neither one of you have worked in the office. What is your relevant experience that would apply to this office? That'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my only experience was, the last time I was in the tax assessor's office was, I arrested for iron looper. And that doesn't make you an expert or anything like that, but at this point in time, that office needs credibility. There's a cloud hanging over it. It needs to have credibility. It's time to restore it back. That's what I plan on doing. I do not plan on running for it. These gentlemen over here.
Thank you, sir.
I've got a question for him.
Well, Mr. O'Rear.
I've got a question for you. What kind of I think what we're looking for is an administrator to keep this in running smooth over the next few months. What kind of administrative
I think
experience?
if you look at my resume, I was Commissioner of Safety here in Cookville for 6 years, over the police and fire department. I was in the military, had 5 different commands, During that time, supervised anywhere from 3,000 people down to 35 people. During that time, I went to the National FBI Academy, National FBI Leadership Academy, and while I was in the military, I could just name off all kinds of
All right, thank you.
schools and that type of thing.
All right, thank you.
As I stated in my letter, I've had 43 years' experience in the finance field, and in them 43 years, I have been 20 years in management, and I've also had about 35 years in appraising real estate for real estate loans that I have approved and made over the years, and been in and out a number of times in the office down there. I have nowhere near the experience these young ladies and the gentleman has in the office now, and I just hope to go in there and give it some kind of continuity for the interim till someone that could be elected to the office to bring it back to where this county needs it to be. Thank you. Any other questions?
Do you have any plans on running for this office?
No, sir.
Nothing else, we'll proceed to the vote. Proceed to the vote, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I call your name, will you give me your selection, please? Are you ready? Mr. Eversole.
O'Rear.
Mr. Short.
Joe Hicks.
Mr. Duncan.
O'Rear.
Mr. Martin.
Hicks.
Gentry is absent. Mr. Ford. Mr. Ludwig.
Bandy.
Mr. Williamson.
Thurman.
Ms. Burrows.
Bandy.
Mr. Randolph.
Bandy.
Mr. Shanks.
Hicks.
Mr. Savage.
Mapes.
Mr. Medley. Mr. Troball.
Bandy.
Ms. Bryant.
Bandy.
Ms. Neal.
O'Rear.
Mr. Blair.
Bandy.
Mr. Williams.
Thurman.
Mr. Maynard.
O'Rear.
Ms. Bradford.
O'Rear.
Mr. Pierce.
Bandy.
Ms. Bowman.
Bandy.
Ms. Real is absent. Mr. Atwood.
Bandy.
Anyone wish to change your vote anywhere? All right. Bandy, all right. Anyone else wish to change your vote? Mr. Ford did. Anyone else before we do our tally? Anyone else anywhere? Well, I'll split it. All right, if my calculations are correct, Thurman receives 2, Bandy receives 11, Thompson receives 0, O'Rear receives 5, Mapes receives 1, and Hicks receives 3. So we will drop Thompson. All right. Hang on just a second. All right. That leaves us, ladies and gentlemen, with your selections of either Thurman, Bandy, O'Rear, or Hicks. Excuse me, Mapes. I apologize. And Mapes. Sorry, ma'am. All right. Thurman, Bandy, O'Rear, Hicks, and Mapes. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Mr. Eversole.
O'Rear.
Mr. Short.
O'Rear.
Mr. Duncan.
O'Rear.
Mr. Martin.
Hicks.
Mr. Ford.
Bandy.
Mr. Ludwig.
Bandy.
Mr. Williamson.
Bandy.
Ms. Burrows.
Bandy.
Mr. Randolph.
Bandy.
Mr. Shanks.
O'Rear.
Mr. Savage.
Bandy.
Mr. Medley.
Bandy.
Mr. Troball.
Bandy.
Ms. Bryant.
Bandy.
Ms. Neal.
O'Rear.
Mr. Blair.
Bandy.
Mr. Williams.
O'Rear.
Mr. Maynard.
O'Rear.
Ms. Bradford.
O'Rear.
Mr. Pierce.
Bandy.
Ms. Bowman.
Bandy.
Mr. Atwood.
Bandy.
Anyone wish to change their vote? All right, ladies and gentlemen, if my calculations are correct, Thurman received 0, Miss Bandy receives 13, O'Rear receives 8, Hicks receives 1, Mapes receives 0. It requires 13 to receive that. Miss Bandy, come and get sworn in. Well, whatever you want to do. You want to wait? Let's do it. Come on up, Miss Bandy. Miss Barbara. You're out here in front of God and everybody. That's right. Yes, I'm going to give you some juice here. All right.
And I want to reiterate that this staff, they have banded together and they've kept it together and they're getting everything done they need to do. And I am just so glad to swear somebody in so I can have to quit signing papers. Okay, raise your right hand. I, Barbara Bandy,
I, Barbara Bandy,
Assessor of Property of Putnam County,
Assessor of Property of Putnam County,
State of Tennessee,
State of Tennessee,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will appraise,
that I will appraise,
classify,
classify,
and assess all taxable property
and assess all taxable properties
of the County of Putnam
of the County of Putnam
according to the Constitution of Tennessee
according to the Constitution of Tennessee
and the laws of the state,
and the laws of the state,
that I will truly report all persons
that I will truly report all persons
who fail or refuse
who fail or refuse
to list their taxable property
to list their taxable property
or who have, to my knowledge,
or who have, to my knowledge,
returned a fraudulent list,
returned a fraudulent list,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and honestly
and honestly
discharge my duties as
Discharge.
assessor of property
discharge my duties as assessor of property
according to the law,
according to the law,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
without fear,
without fear,
favor,
favor,
or affection.
or affection.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You are sworn.
Thank you,
Here you go, dear.
Make sure I get a copy of that. And Barbara, call me in the morning. We gotta get your bond, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess I'm supposed to sign one too. I just put your name right there.
Print it.
That action there concludes nominating.
All right, thank you.
I just want to thank everyone, and I'm going to do the best I can to bring credibility back and keep our office working together great, and hopefully have everything just as smooth and great, ready to go for the new assessor to come in. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Report to special committees.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe we need to call Ms. Bacchus back up to clarify something that she had presented earlier, about the pension committee, or the pension.
How do we approach that?
While we have her here,
Okay.
she's driven up here.
Okay.
Would you mind coming back?
Ms. Bacchus.
There seemed to be some confusion on what we were looking at,
Okay.
and she wanted to correct it.
If no commissioner objects, we'll entertain her. One more. Okay.
I think we had a little miscommunication. I apologize, that was my fault. When I was stating which plan we were looking at, and I stated, are we looking at the state and teacher plan or the local government plan? I think what you're really looking at is the state and teacher plan. That is available to local governments to pass. That has a cap of 9% of employer contribution. You're really, as I understand it, you're really looking at what we call the state and teacher plan. It was put in place for state employees and teachers, but is available for local governments. The employer will contribute 4% to the defined benefit plan, 5% to the defined contribution plan for that total of 9%. The employee contributes 5% to the defined benefit plan and is auto-enrolled at 2% in the defined contribution plan. And they can add more to that if they like, or they could choose not to put that much in. But it is a cap of 9%, and that is referred to make the distinction as the state and teacher plan. What we talked about earlier about the different payment options or disability, that is all the same. The age and the rule of 90 is the same that we discussed. It's just, this plan also has some cost controls in that if the actuary reviews the plan and determines that the cost is more than 4% to the employer, we start shifting some things. We could take from the COLA, the cost of living adjustment for retirees, reduce that. There is availability of additional employee contribution. In fact, the first line of defense is a stabilization reserve, that we start building reserve that's only for Putnam County, for each employer, where currently that plan is valued at about between 2.5% and 3% from an actuarial standpoint, but we're charging 4% because we want to start building that reserve to take some of that fluctuation of either from investment returns or anything else. But I wanted to clarify which plan we were really looking at.
Thank you.
Any questions?
The school system is going on this automatically as of July 1st, right?
That's correct, teachers.
Teachers.
Not
Right.
the support
That's what
personnel, just the teachers, brand new hired teachers.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for driving up here.
Resolutions?
There are no resolutions, Mr. Chairman. Election of notaries. Well, we got a bunch. Pat Allen, Eric P. Benedict, Margot M. Boggs, Andy Bullington, William A. Cameron, Carol A. Carter, Buffy J. Davison, Thaddeus J. Drake, John Benjamin Drury IV, Lindsay Cameron Gross, Denise S. Hall, Brandy D. Hayes, Debbie Herron, Jason F. Hicks, Cindy L. Lefevre, J. R. Lefkowitz, Louisa Leperon, Melissa G. Loftus, Sherry L. Lynch, Lonnie B. McKinney, Matthew J. Means, Richard Lane Moore, Keith D. Morrison Jr., David L. Netherton, Charity Norrid, Nicole Lynn Pippin, Amy T. Ray, Sheila A. Rudd, Susan L. Stevenson, Brittany Temples, Amber Underwood, Edward Van Alten, Don Whitaker, and Jonathan Lee Young.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
These have to be voted on, ladies and gentlemen, so you take your handsets and in favor of the motion, vote yes. If you're not, vote no. Everyone please vote. We're just approving the notaries. All right, would you please press confirm for me if anybody doesn't want to change their vote anywhere? Press confirm for me, please. Excellent. 22 voting yes, 0 no, 2 absent. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Other new business. Hear from Dr. Sonia about Regional Economic and Community Development Innovation Center at Tennessee Tech.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to discuss Innovation Center. Last year, Tennessee Tech came to you regarding a proposal we were working on Made in America. This is the same piece of land we are talking about. We are changing the emphasis to community development as well as economic development together, instead of just focusing on Made in America or manufacturing. Manufacturing will be one component of that. In terms of community development, we are looking at basically healthcare initiative, helping. Tennessee Tech has embarked on putting up a center for healthcare informatics, and that is to help the community, the ACOs on healthcare area, so we can help the community in those areas. We're also proposing a youth program to work with youths to build them into leadership and innovative culture. So those are the community development aspects. I believe you have a 3-page summary in front of you, and the PowerPoint presentation which I made to several counties tech-ready community, and we have overwhelming support for this innovation center. I'm working with UCDD as well as other development agencies to basically form a group, a collaborative group to go after this innovation center, which can be also incubation. Along with workforce development for manufacturing, for agriculture, we are also looking at different aspects of agriculture. One of the areas our college, university is looking at in agriculture is the food processing, and state of Tennessee is also focused on food processing. So we want to work with the communities in terms of different aspects of our agricultural products in food processing. We are also focusing on renewable energy and using biodigester, for example, to take bio-waste for energy. So these are all types of projects which Tennessee Tech is looking at to work with the community to build this innovation center. The key component of this innovation center is also going to be, along with workforce training, incubation center, which will allow new companies or startup companies. So Tech has this effort to inspire young entrepreneurs in the community to start new ventures, and we're providing training with Biz Foundry and Launch Tennessee, and we want to hope to have some of these young entrepreneurs into this incubation center. So if you look at the overall proposal, it is all inclusive. We want to build the community together. It is on the same land. Commissioner has approved it last time. We are looking at a different proposal, so we came back to the commission for the similar approval. The proposal date is in June, and there is no guarantee we are going to win, but Tennessee Tech, our president has committed $2 million toward the building, and we are continuing to look for other sources. So we're going to make all effort to make this a reality in next year or year and a half. this proposal on June is just a first approach. We have several other approaches in mind to set up this footprint on Highland Technology Park. I believe that will also attract companies in our area because we will be there to provide intellectual support. With that very brief, you have in front of you the presentation as well as the 3-page summary. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions?
So Dr. Sonny, could you review what dollars you're asking for and what different parties are bringing to the table in terms of finances?
Sure. We are looking at a total $4 million investment. Tennessee Tech is putting $2 million towards the building, and we are asking $2 million to Economic Development Agency, EDA, which is a federal government, to put in $2 million. We have requested, I was in front of City Council last week and requesting the similar piece of land and asking the county commission the same thing. So we are looking at land donation from the county and city to put this innovation center.
Yes, Commissioner Williamson.
Yes, Dr. Sonny, is this the same size parcel of land?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank
Same
you.
size, same place. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I told him, I really don't, y'all have already voted to do it. I don't think we need to vote again. I think he's mostly just here to let y'all know what's going on and get you up to speed with the project.
Okay.
So this is the land that we done gave to Kansas.
Well, no, y'all voted to let them, if they get the grant, to put the building on.
Yes.
It's basically reapplying for the money.
Right.
Okay.
Same project, he just kind of running you up to speed on where we are.
And we are further along looking at the last year's review. We are talking to 2 or 3 companies possibly to provide some funding and locate into the Highland Technology Park where this innovation center will provide support.
Anything else from commissioners? Thank you, sir. We appreciate
Thank
you
you very
coming.
much.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go get 'em. I have 2 announcements. One is this Friday, April 25th, Baxter Senior Center is having their covered dish lunch. Music starts at 10. Lunch was... I don't know what I said. I'm sorry. Y'all forgive me. Yeah, someone may...
but I'm sure going now if it's covered duck.
Yeah, there could be lunch with speakers at 11:30. Bring a dish or pay $5, and if you bring a duck, you're free. My second announcement is One Voice United in Prayer. Putnam County National Day of Prayer Service will be held Putnam County Courthouse, South Lawn, 12 to 1, Thursday, May 1st. Praise and worship will start at 11:30. In the event of rain, it will be held here in this room. Any other announcements?
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I was looking for that during the resolutions. Okay. Commissioner Bryant. Okay. Yes, sorry. Mr. Ford.
I just want to say that, I'd like to thank everybody that asked for this position of tax assessor in Putnam County. It feels good as commissioner to have any one of these people to have taken this job because we had a real good group to select from. And, I just want to thank you, and I think the commission done a good job in the selection they done with the harder choices we had to do. So thank everybody for being interested in doing the right thing for Putnam County.
Okay, I've got this letter that I've got to submit for 3-star, and I'm not sure why, but I'm supposed to do this and get it in the minutes. Basically, it's a letter from me that says that we've got our debt management policy and that we do an annual cash flow forecast when we issue debt. And I'm just gonna this service notice that I gave you notice that I'm sending this letter, and give a copy to Wayne so he can put it in the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Any other announcements? All right, we stand adjourned.
Thanks for helping me with your handsets there, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate that very much. Remember Friday, bring your own duck.